Hi, welcome back to the channel. Today is episode 2 of QuickBooks Online for Beginners, which is all about understanding the banking dashboard. This is where we're going to break down one of the most important areas in QuickBooks Online, the banking dashboard, otherwise known as the transactions tab. Today we're going to talk about how to connect bank accounts and credit cards, how bank feeds update, and then how to troubleshoot when the bank feeds aren't updating. Also, I'm going to show you what's new in the updated QuickBooks Online banking screen. So let's get started.
So I know I've talked about this screen before, but it is where you're going to be spending a lot of your time in QuickBooks Online, so it's good to know how to get here. There's probably a few different ways to get to the screen. Using this tab on the left-hand side of the screen, you can go to bank transactions. It might be one of your bookmarks. There might be a tab called banking on this side. Depending on what version of QuickBooks Online you're using, it might look a little differently. I know they've been making a lot of updates, so the way you might get to the bank transaction page might look a little different for everybody. Regardless, it's always called bank transactions, and this is what it's going to look like, okay? If you have your accounts synced up, you'll see those tiles listed up here, and then you'll also see any pending transactions that need your attention that you need to do something with to get them out of this pending status. So as you can see, we have a credit card hooked up. We also have a checking account. To connect a bank account or a credit card, click on the link account button in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. This is going to open up a QuickBooks secure connection window. Here you'll see some of the major banks listed. If you're using Chase Bank and trying to hook up that account, great, you can click on this tile. If you don't see your bank or your credit card institution listed here, you can just start typing it in the search bar and it should pop up. One thing to note is that not all banks or credit card institutions will sync up with QuickBooks Online. Most of them will, but some smaller ones might not have that function. Once you get to this point, you'll use your bank's exact login information just as you would in online banking. A window like this should open up for you to essentially log into your bank account. As you connect your bank account, QuickBooks will usually let you choose a start date. So this is the point in time when you want to start pulling in the transactions. Maybe it's today, but maybe it's 2 months ago. You should be able to select a date in the past, which is really helpful if you're catching up on bookkeeping or starting fresh halfway through the year. Just pick the date that matches when you want to start seeing the transactions coming in QuickBooks Online. Once you're connected, QuickBooks will start pulling in the transactions automatically. There's nothing left that you need to do. And where those will go will be in the pending area of the bank transactions page. For some of you, this might not say pending. It might say for review or something similar. Likewise, this posted button might say categorized. And then we'll always have this third tab called excluded. The excluded section is where you send transactions that you don't want on the books. This might be a duplicate that accidentally got synced through due to some kind of a glitch. It's happened to me. I don't know how or why it does, but it happens from time to time. You might also want to exclude an accidental import. Say you import a whole month of transactions, and then because you didn't remember that you had already done that, you do it again. Check the box for the transaction that you want to exclude. A window should pop up asking what you want to do with this transaction, and we're going to hit exclude. Now we'll see that transaction in the excluded area. To totally get rid of this transaction, you can click on it again and hit delete. This will completely remove this transaction from any records in QuickBooks Online and you'll never see it again. Just make sure you take caution when you're doing this. If you delete something, it's gone forever. You can always upload it back into QuickBooks if you need to, but the less work, the better. I won't talk too much about categorizing transactions in this video, so if you need a refresher on that, make sure you take a look at episode 1 of this series. That one is all about matching versus adding transactions. Let's talk about how QuickBooks Online updates feeds and what to do if they stop updating. So I don't know if this has ever happened to you. It's definitely happened to me. All of a sudden, my accounts are not syncing the transactions. I might get a warning at the top of the screen letting me know that one or more of my accounts is not syncing. And there's a couple of different reasons this could be happening. So if your feed is not updating, check for bank error codes. QuickBooks usually will, like I said, provide a message explaining that is happening. If you recently changed your bank account password, card on the online banking website, what you need to do is just update your information. So in that case, you'll click on the little pencil within the bank account or credit card tile. As you can see, this little pencil is appearing under the credit card tile because that's the account I'm working in right now. If I were to click on the checking account tile, now it's switched over to that account. If we had any transactions to categorize, those would show up here for the bank account. Just like if I click on the credit card, the pending transactions on the credit card will show up here. Just a little side note. So we'll click on this pencil, edit account sign in, and then reconnect your account by entering your updated credentials. The third reason your account might not be syncing is if your bank requires some kind of verification code or security update. If that's the case, log into your bank or your credit card directly, not through QuickBooks, and enter whatever's required. Sometimes, honestly, it's a glitch of some kind, and you just have to either click this update button, which will refresh the connection, or I've also had situations where I just unfortunately have to wait a few hours. Sometimes the banks or credit cards do account maintenance on their websites, and if that's happening, it might affect QuickBooks being able to pull in new transactions from that account. So if that happens, try again in a few hours. You can always call your bank to see if something is going on with their website. If you are having sync issues and you just can't figure it out, as a backup or a last resort, you can always upload transactions manually into QuickBooks Online using a CSV file or a QBO file. Most online banking or online credit card institutions let you download statements, and most of them should let you download them as a CSV file or a QBO file. Once you have that downloaded, there are some things to know about how to do that. You need to have the correct columns, like the date and the amount. I'm not going to get too much into the formatting of the file, but the way you would upload that into your QuickBooks Online file is by going to this drop-down arrow next to link account and then upload from file. It's going to ask you which account you want to upload the file. So if it's the credit card, we'll click the Citi Visa. If it's the checking account, we'll click the checking account, and then you'll upload your file here. Like I said, I'm not going to get too much into that, but that is a last resort I would recommend using if you get to that point, but I hope you don't. Moral of the story, bank connection issues are really common. Usually they're really simple to resolve. The last thing I want to talk about is a feature in the new banking screen. You'll notice a new column called Request More Info. This is used when you need more information from the business owner about transactions. So say I don't know what this transaction was for. I see it was an expense from Office Max for $73.20, and I can probably assume that it was for office supplies, but who knows? So if I want to request more information about this transaction, all I need to do is hit this plus sign within the row of the transaction I have the question about, and then type your question or use one of the pre-typed questions that are listed right down here. Next, select this Add Request to List button, and then you'll see this plus button in the row that we were just working in turn into a dialog box. The one thing to remember about this is that these requests don't get sent to anybody. So you'll need to tell the business owner or whoever has the information that you need to log into QuickBooks Online and go to the request section of the banking transaction screen. So you can see here I have 2 requests pending. If I click on this button, we'll see both of the transactions that I have questions about, and this is the same screen that whoever you're requesting the information from will see. All they need to do is add their response, send it, and then you'll be able to see the response and categorize the transaction as needed. So in this case, it is office supplies. If we get out of this screen, we should be able to click on the dialog box and see the response here, office supplies. And now we can go ahead and post this transaction now that we know what it's for. So kind of a cool new feature. I know that you might be able to get the answers that you're looking for by maybe logging into the online banking and drilling down on the transaction yourself. Sometimes the online banking has a little bit more of a description of what a transaction was for than might come through in QuickBooks Online. If it's a check or something, some banks provide images of deposited checks, or if it's a withdrawal out of a bank account. Some banks allow to type in a note or a memo to provide the transaction information. As a rule of thumb, I always try to do whatever digging I can before I ask questions, because you never know, you might just find the answer in a really obvious place. Regardless, it's a nice new tool. Definitely been using it. Okay, so now you should have a little bit better of an understanding about the bank transaction screen, how to connect your bank accounts and your credit card accounts, how QuickBooks updates your bank feeds, and then also how to handle any interference with that if the bank account feeds are not updating. If this video helped, as always, make sure to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for episode 3, where we'll talk about how to categorize transactions the right way. So choosing the correct categories, vendor assignments, and the big one, using rules to automate future transactions. We'll see you next time.